Apologies about that. I just suddenly decided to press the button a bit too soon, but welcome back. It is the D.C U.K Podcast. This is season 6 and it is episode 12. And I am back. I was supposed to do this episode last week, but kids, it happens. But you know what? If I did this last week and I'd missed it this week, you wouldn't have seen this merch. This beautiful, beautiful Adidas D.C U.K, and you're going to see it just there on the sleeve, hoodie, available at the DC UK store, dcunitedkingdom.com/DC UK store. Get yourself one of these. It is available in 3 different colours. It is available in the classic black, navy blue, and a red. So do go over to the shop and get yourself one. Helps the show in every single way. This week it's going to be a little bit different. I caught up with Barney, who's a good friend. We used to work in the same company. He still works there. But we caught up yesterday just to go over some stuff around this weekend's game, which we are playing against New York City FC, as they are now known, as we'll find out later. But I spoke to him yesterday, so we're going to be chatting about that later, and we're going to go through that, get his predictions as well, and find out why they're in the form that they're currently in, which is not all that great. So we do have a great opportunity this weekend to really push further into the playoff line and hopefully start cementing our place in the postseason for the first time in a very long time, which is great, and I can't wait. This week on this week's show, there will be this one bit of club news, since the last couple of weeks has not been massively exciting. But we've got some podcast news potentially. I don't want to give too much away, but there will be hopefully a exciting special episode coming up soon. And as you can see in the bottom corner, if you're watching on YouTube, please do go and follow all the socials. So you got Facebook, Instagram, the old Twitter, and you should also have YouTube. So please do make sure you subscribe. And if you're listening to the podcast after the fact, please do subscribe, like this stream, like this episode, give it a review. If you're on Spotify, you can actually do reviews per episode, which is great. And if you're listening to on Apple Podcasts, please do give us a rating and a review and leave your nice little comment. I will read them out on the show if you do. See how many we can get. I want to hear so many comments. I want to be able to have just a nice little section of the episode of the show dedicated to reading out your comments. So please do leave them there. So normally I would do the news VT, but for this week, because there's so little, I don't feel like it's necessary. So I'm just going to head straight into it. This week we had, today of all days, it's always great to get news on podcast day. Ted Kudapietro has signed an extension to his contract through to 2027, but now he's moved on to the U22 initiative, which is great because that means it frees up a little bit of space for us to get an extra player, or gives us that little bit of wiggle room now. So in the press release for this, it's come out and said DC United have signed homegrown forward Ted Kudapietro to a new contract as a U22 initiative player through to 2027 with an option for 2028. So there is a good extension here. Ali Mackay came out and said, Ted is an exceptional young talent who's put in the work season after season to get to where he is today. He's an exciting player who has the ability to take on defenders to create goal-scoring opportunities in the final third. The academy has a great history of developing young talents and creating pathways to reach the top level. Players like Ted are a testament to the organisation and the success of the Pathway to Pro program. We are excited to sign Ted to this new contract and see his continued impact at the club. So originally he signed as the 17th homegrown player in the club history on 13th of January 2022. So, 2.5 years ago now? And made his debut on March 19th against Toronto. We all know how that went down. Following season, he scored his first goal and game-winning goal against the same team in an unbelievable match that was just sent the fans into hype overload. Now, for me, this season, he hasn't quite hit those same heights. It's felt he's not quite found a masterful position yet. He's kind of been put into different positions, and he's just not quite flourished like we were expecting him to. So hopefully this is just a bit of a dip, and he comes out of it the other side, and he's picked up a couple of assists recently, so that is always good. Troy then went on to say, Ted has developed in so many areas this season to become a more consistent presence in our team. And that's fair to say that. He has played quite a lot this season. Knowing he's still early in the early stages of his career, what excites us about Ted is his desire to challenge himself to keep improving. He sets a high bar for himself and will put in the work to achieve his next goals for himself and our club. So, great news on that aspect, that he is signing an extension. It's great to see, and, looking forward to seeing how he develops in the coming months and years. And if he develops into a top player, then brilliant. I'm not going to at all, and I don't think you guys out there will too. The other bit of news that might be relevant to most of my listeners anyway, most of you guys out there, Mauricio Pochettino is now the US men's national team head coach, reportedly earning $6 million a year. This is an interesting one. It had been rumored for some time, and now it's official. What do you think about it? Are you happy that Pochettino is now your head coach? What are you going to expect from him? We know how he was with Tottenham and the great stuff that he did there. Granted, he never won a trophy whilst he was at Tottenham and then went to PSG. But he's been rumoured with loads of top jobs. Obviously, the Manchester United job is something that he was heavily linked to for such a long time, never came to fruition. Managed Chelsea as well, and now he's the US men's national team coach. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does on an international stage, because you get managers who spend time at club level and do really, really well, and then take on a international job and don't do so well. There's been many occasions of that. Then you look at the other side, and sometimes club managers don't do so well, but then suddenly become a great international manager. You look at Gareth Southgate. Took Middlesbrough down to the Championship, got relegated, left the club. We sacked him when we were at top of the table. Good work, Steve Gibson. But then he went on to becoming an England under-21 coach. Did well there, and then became England manager and did extremely well. Got us so close to winning trophies, which is the closest we've ever been since 1966. And, he did well. So, like I said, it's going to be an interesting one to see how he does at the international stage and whether the way he plays is adaptable to the international game, because it is a different kettle of fish. But yeah, let me know what you think. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you angry? Do you feel like there's someone out there who should have got the job rather than Mauricio Pochettino? So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. But what we're going to do, we are going to move into a review of last week's game against Chicago Fire. I'm just going to quickly hop over to the browser. So you'll see up on the screen up here if you're watching. If you're not and you're listening to the show, thank you very much. But we're just going to talk about pressing the wrong buttons. That doesn't help. Cool. So we've got the lineup here. So our lineup for the weekend's game started off as Bono in goal. And you've got to remember, this is in the middle of the international window as well. So we were missing some players, which is really frustrating. The fact that MLS thought, you know what's a good idea? We'll play some league games when there's players away on international duty. we'll still keep the Leagues Cup when nothing's happening, and we'll add extra games there. But you know what? We'll not spread the normal MLS season out throughout the entire year, and avoid having league fixtures clashing with international windows. Yeah. Anyway, lineup: Alex Bono in goal. Anyways, Pedro Santos, Chris McVeigh, Lucas Bartlett, and Garrison Tubbs at the back. Your midfield was Martin Rodriguez, Mateus Click, Gabriel Pirani, Jared Stroud, and Dahome, which, if you're looking on screen, is completely wrong here, because Dahome was on the, I'm sure he was on the left, Jared Stroud was on the right, Rodriguez, Click, and Pirani were central. So, yeah, completely wrong. And then Benteke up top. So it was a 4-5-1, worked in quite a few different ways. You saw sometimes it went into a 3-back formation with McVeigh, Bartlett, and Tubbs being as the centre backs, and just it was fluid. And it was a really interesting way to see the game play out here. Chicago were 4-4-2. The big names of Kellen Acosta, Andrew Gutman there, Brian Gutierrez, Gaston Jimenez there as well. Some really big names. And then on the bench, they had Tim Barlow, Herbers, who was a friend of former DC player Julian Gressel. Mueller was on the bench. I did not realise that. He did not come on. I don't remember him coming on if he did. So yeah, interesting. There you go. And then on our bench, we didn't quite have as many players as we normally do. But again, thank you to international duties. Zamudio, Sargas, Russell Canouse, Jeremy Garay, Ted Pietro, Bargi, and Jacob Morel. Now, you might have noticed the name there. Who hasn't been there for a long time in Russell Canouse. And my word, was it good to see Russell Canouse on the bench. Very, very great to see him there. And you never know, he might end up coming back onto the podcast at some point in the near future. So yeah, absolutely fantastic game. Really enjoyed watching this. First half was fantastic for us. We got a couple of goals within the space of a few minutes, but we did start off on the right foot. We were attacking. We had a decent amount of shots. We worked the high press. It was just good. It was really good to see. And then you got Christian Benteke and Gabriel Pirani scoring 2 goals in the matter of a few minutes. Benteke's goal, crossing in, and that first touch was just chef's kiss. Slightly off balance, bear in mind. And then he's able to slot it home with a slight deflection to take it around the goalkeeper. And then Pirani, absolute slotted through from Click. His turn was delightful. Just, again, chef's kiss. Beautiful turn. Slot it home into the bottom right-hand corner. Keeper got no chance on it. 2-0. And then you start seeing confidence starting to flow through the team. Jared Stroud taking digs from range. And just, a little bit of swag. And it's been a while since we've had that. And I'm just really, really pleased to see how well we've been doing. And if you look at our sort of recent form as well, 1, 2, we're going to discount the Leagues Cup here. We're going to just focus on the league. 3, 4 wins out of the last 5. 12 points out of a possible 15 in the league. It's just been such a great turnaround when you consider the run that we had, where it was just over 10 games. I think it was a dozen games where we hadn't won a single match. To start, then suddenly go, you know what, we're gonna build some momentum. We're coming into the crunch time of the season. We're gonna build this momentum, and actually looks like we're gonna do all right here. Didn't think it would be possible, but my optimism and actual hope for a strong end to the season is there. Yeah, we've got New York City, we've got Philly, Columbus, Nashville. Well, let's just get teams that are around us. You've got Philly there, Nashville, and New England. All teams all around us. It's going to be a real interesting end to the season. Very interesting. But back to the Chicago game. There were moments in the first half where it could have started turning around for Chicago. You had Kellen Acosta being beautifully set up by Pedro Santos for some bizarre reason, rather than heading it towards the out of play, he decided to head it back into the middle. He heads it back into the middle. Kellen Acosta on the volley just pings the ball off the post and somehow goes behind Bono and then out for a goal kick. Just a few inches to the other side, to the right, and that would have been 2-1 in the first half, and we would have been looking at a completely different game. But it wasn't the case. We had a bit of luck there, but what we didn't have luck-wise is in the second half, when there was a corner, it's headed out, and Andrew Gutman hits it from range. Bono has no chance on it, makes it 2-1, and then we are on a little bit of the back foot. But again, like Toronto, we showed a bit of resilience, and we were able to actually prevent them from getting many more shots, and we keep it 2-1. So when we look at those stats, let's go on to this page for a bit better detail. So possession, they had 60.4 to our 39.6. We had more shots overall and more on target, more blocked. So we had 9-6 in our favour, 3-2 for shots on target, 3-1 in terms of blocked shots. Passing accuracy, I was at 76.7, so they're 86.5, so they're better passing. Corners, we actually had more corners in this game. Same amount of aerial duels won, only very, very close in terms of the fouls and bookings. But the expected goals, the actual efforts at goal, should have been 0.6 to 0.8, so it was very close there. And when you look at Andrew Gutman's and Kellen Acosta's efforts from range, they wouldn't have led to very much difference in the actual XG. But ours, they were a bit better. And then you look at the possession of play for each sort of 5-minute intervals. And Chicago in that second half were absolutely dominant. First half was pretty even Stevens there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 instances of the first half we were in control. So for that, pretty good. Can't argue with how we played in the first half. Very happy. We did well. No complaints from me. How did you think the Chicago game went down? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was a good game? We'll see how it turns out. But now we're going to go over to my interview with Barney, who runs the UK NYCFC account. So please do go follow him. If you're on any socials, he's a great guy. He's got good banter. The audio on his side, there was a little bit of clicking going on, so apologies for that. Not being able to really remove it. But this is a great chat. It does go on for around 45 minutes, so please buckle yourselves in. We're going to go through this, and I hope you enjoy this interview. So let's tune into yesterday's chat. It's nice to have you back, Barney. It is your, we're going to say third appearance. Might be your fourth, might be more, but we're going to say third. But you're back on the D.C U.K Podcast, fellow hashtag MLS UK. How are you doing?
Not too bad, mate. Thank you for having me back. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've done anything MLS UK, to be honest. So good to be back, and hope you're well as well, mate.
Thank you very much. It's been a bit of a weird season for me because I've had a new kids at the start of the year, right at the beginning of the season. So, through things, especially podcast related anyway, but it's meant I've actually been able to watch more late nights and all that jazz. it has its advantages. It certainly has that. But yeah, you're back. For those who don't know anything about you, and maybe even not much about the MLS UK movement, feel free to introduce yourself and give a little bit of background as to why you do UK NYCFC and why you follow those guys.
The New York guys, unlike the Jersey guys. So yeah, hi everyone, I'm Barney, aka UK NYCFC. I have been following New York pretty much since their inception. When hearing the announcement of a soccer club being formed in New York City, I thought, oh, that's different. I've never been to New York, but always been sort of, intrigued about its fame, its sort of glamour, the Broadway, all that kind of stuff, all the cliche New York stuff. So yeah, when that was announced, and then you get your first signings, Frank Lampard's, other names who now can't be talked about. It was quite a sort of big news piece. And then the link to Man City, I have no real affiliation with Man City beyond my first ever Premier League game was in the Man City fans. My brother-in-law was a Man City fan, so he got us some tickets and we went to watch Man City beat Charlton 3-0 at the Valley back when I was like 15. So it was a tedious link, very tedious.
Very tedious.
Very tedious.
Yes.
But at the time, to my memory, there wasn't really a concrete link between an MLS team and a UK team. I don't think the Colorado Arsenal link had started yet. Yeah, that was the kind of beginnings of the interest. Watched the first ever game against Orlando, and the home opener, and just hooked. The comedy that everyone laughs about, the baseball stadium thing, I just thought was brilliant. I loved it. I was like, so American. It's just soccer becomes below everything else. They all love their NFL, their NBA, baseball, gridiron, and so much so that we have to play soccer ball in a different kind of ballpark.
Yes.
So it just all grabbed me. I just thought, wow, it's different. I've always been told I'm a bit different, so maybe there's some sort of ADHD link there or something, I don't know. But it just always thought it was amazing. And I've been over to New York now 5 times, or at least been to America 5 times to watch New York. And the fans over there have been amazing. The club has been amazing. Just like the way DC have treated you, giving you some unreal experiences. NYCFC have done the same for me. So we'll always be forever grateful. My experience at MLS Cup in 2021 in Portland I'm pretty much sure it's going to take some topping to go to my grave with any better football memory than that day.
Yeah.
So very long intro for myself, but gives just an idea of how ingrained New York is in my life. That it's very much two loves of Pompey and NYCFC.
So you've had one hell of an experience with even something that most of us will never ever get to experience, and that is holding the MLS Cup. And that is just something. Talk to us. Tell us about that. How did that even come about?
Yeah. So well, I guess in some small part it started on the way there. So as any MLS fans will know, come post-season, the playoffs are very quick. The way they go through it's almost World Cup like, in that you have your semi-finals, aka what you would know as conference finals, and then 6 or 7 days later you've got the MLS Cup final. When New York are in the Eastern final, it's like, oh, we've got a real chance here. I remember it was against the Revs, or was it Philly? Can't remember which way around it was. 3-4 years ago now, my brain's all confuzzled by it. But anyway, I said to my boss, just an FYI, I know it's on a weekend in December and we're not meant to have leave in December. If New York make it, I'm going. Yeah, but Barney, work, etc. I don't think you quite understood when I said, I'm going. The only thing at that moment was I was probably going through what's been, I wouldn't say financially desperate, but certainly a tighter time of my life in finances. So I was thinking, Christ, this is just going to leave me like eating pot noodles, or I don't know if they even have pot noodles in America, but instant noodles that you put in a cup
ramen.
with a cup full of hot water, ramen, something like that. And so I put a few tweets out. Any guys that can give me any support, any hotel rooms, things like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
The NYCFC fans came through. I got like over $300 worth of donations, and got 2 hotel rooms for free. There's a very infamous NYCFC fan who gets himself a lot of drama on the NYCFC Twitterverse, called Coach Joe. His Twitter persona versus real life persona, you would think is like 2 different people, but he was the first one to come through and say, dude, yeah, I've got a twin room. On the first night, you're more than welcome to come have that second bed. Never met this guy before.
Yeah.
So, you know, I arrived
Could
in
have been
Portland.
walking into an absolute, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it took me 25 hours to get from this house to the hotel in Portland, because at the time it was at the end of Omicron, the last sort of big COVID strain. So we were talking December 2021. So I had to fly from Heathrow to Seattle, but with a 5-hour wait at Heathrow before I could even check in, because I had to do a 2-hour COVID test.
Oh, wow.
Which cost me like 150 quid. Wait for that. You couldn't even check in to get your boarding pass until you had that COVID certificate to show that you had your test. So Heathrow was like mental.
Yeah.
After that, get on the plane. By this point, sort of Twitter's gone mental for me. When I landed in Seattle for my connection to Portland, I had a DM from the club saying Brad Sims, the president, would love to like meet up in Portland. Is 8 a.m. too early? Now bear in mind the match was actually kicking off at midday Portland time, because of course they need to make it doable for West Coast Eastern time, and they want to kind of get at least some European viewing as well. So it's going to kick off like I think 10 or 11 p.m. UK time. First, like I said, I was 11 p.m. landing arriving in Portland downtown. Get to this guy's hotel room. Please don't be a mass murderer. Brilliant, cool. Yeah. Both almost straight to bed. I get up in that morning, get the club, send a taxi down to the hotel, pick me up to go to the club's hotel, go meet Brad Sims. First time I met him, what an honest guy. Gave me some merch, gave me a couple of jackets, and we took some pictures. Club sort of filmed a few bits, which they actually never used, but just through having met me, they ended up filming me later and put me in a couple of the bits of the sort of highlight reel of the day, which was just nice mementos to have, sort of thing. Carrying said flag through the streets of Portland, and he said, you know, when you're after the game, win or lose, we've hired out the Hilton downtown Portland. There's a ballroom downstairs. We've hired it out. We're going to fill it. All 2,000 NYCFC fans that are flown to New York are invited, whether we win or lose. Big after party. So as soon as the game finishes, get back here so you don't miss out. Yeah. Perfect. I literally ran back to the hotel when we won, because I thought, the trophy and the players have got to make it into that stadium, into that hotel, somehow. Right place, right time. Loads of people have got a chance to have a photo, but I think I was probably one of the luckiest to be literally I was in the foyer of the hotel as one of the club officials walked in with the trophy. Wow. And I was the first one just said, I need a picture. I'm UK and NYCFC, talking like people know me like in third person or something. Yeah. But anyway, the guy did know who I was. He was, oh yeah, of course, yeah. And just quickly held it, a couple of pictures. So I had 3 pictures, I think, and 2 are blurry, and then there's the one that is my profile picture.
Nice.
And that's that was just perfect timing, and it felt like the perfect cap to it. And then everyone got drunk in the hotel, all the players, everyone bounced around like it was some kind of rave. It was just a fantastic end to, and I was only in Portland for 36 hours, and I was back out and back to work. So about 47 hours of travel for 36 hours in Portland, but the best football experience I will ever have.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many people who are going to have had that kind of experience, and I'm a bit jealous. Because at least you've had a playoff game where we've not had one for some time.
How many years since you were in the playoffs?
I want to say it's been pre-COVID.
Wow, I didn't realise it was that long. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it's
Well,
been.
1 year doesn't feel so bad then.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while, and then we had our first knockout game at Audi Field since 2018, with the Leagues Cup.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
Yeah.
long time since we've had anything like that. So yeah,
You felt like a club that's been in a long transition. I know it's on a much greater level with Man United's issues, but from an MLS perspective,
it's
there's
a long
comparisons, isn't
time.
there?
Yeah,
You've got the MLS heritage like Man United has with the Premier
Yeah.
League. I know I'm talking two very different kettles of fish, but there is a similarity there where you've got the original kind of like we were the MLS UK, we were the MLS original guys,
yeah,
and you know yourself and LA Galaxy were like the big players,
yeah,
and you've tried to keep trying to reform, reshape,
yeah.
and yeah, just not.
It's just not happened. But this year for us, I think it's been a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel of that transitional period, because we've had a lot of good stuff and a lot of good things said about our play, and we've just lost a lot of points from winning positions, which it's not ideal. But considering where we are and what's happened and the amount of points we've lost from winning positions, which I think is 22 points.
I wouldn't be shocked if we're about the same. It's mad.
Yeah, we're considering we're actually we're in the play-in match at the moment in terms of the standings. I think we're doing okay. We're doing all right. It could be a lot worse. It could be Nashville, who are currently bottom of the East right now, and it could be even worse than that. Who I think San Jose currently got 17 points. Yeah, it's not good.
It's just painful when you've had the history that you have. Even for New York, we've existed a lot less, but having got to the heights of winning the whole thing only 3 years ago, it's a really tough transition to make and accept. And I think a lot of New York fans are struggling with that, and I think that's again an MLS thing where you've got fans that haven't seen the peaks and troughs that all say our UK clubs in Pompey and Middlesbrough. You know, although we've not necessarily we're not particularly old, but you know, we've still seen a lot more peaks and troughs. Look at Pompey going all the way from the Premier League down to the 4th division, back up now to the 2nd division.
Yeah,
an MLS fan will never appreciate that.
No, not at all. I mean, we've had as a Borough fan, we've gone from being in the first season of the Premier League to being a bit of a yo-yo club to then making to European Cup finals, then to get relegated, to go back up, back down, and yeah,
we didn't have to play Morecambe away on a Tuesday night though. So...
No, that's true. It's true. We've not had to play Morecambe away on a Tuesday night, but we've had the highs of the comebacks against Steaua Bucharest and FC Basel, where we were 3 goals down on aggregate, and to actually come back and win those games within a half of football. It's just when you've had that kind of high, and then you get to where we are now, and it's just like, yeah. I guess I don't have Wayne Rooney as my manager anymore.
I mean, he wasn't awful for you. Excuse me, but he's definitely been a lot. He's managed to be even more awful elsewhere, though.
Yeah. I mean, that.
I feel like something was actually beginning to click, though. When he left, it felt like little things were coming together.
Yeah,
just that was outside
debatable.
Game, maybe
debatable.
But equally, he wasn't the worst manager in the league at the time. I think Nick Cushing was getting like some of the most pressure.
Yeah. That's a nice segue. It's a nice segue. So Nick Cushing, yes, he's been there a while now.
Yeah,
he has been there a while. He is a fellow Brit as well.
Mm-hmm.
How are the fans holding on to him? Are they thinking it's time for a change yet, or are they happy to stick with him?
I think we are seeing a few more Cushing out people start to reappear after he had managed to turn them around earlier in the season.
Yeah,
we had a really, really good stint, which I think finally got the fans back on board. The pinnacle of that being, certain wins against certain clubs.
Yeah.
That's always going to do what you need.
Yeah. I was going to
Beating the Red Bulls.
bring up the
So go on.
form guides at the
Yeah,
moment, and I think you're talking probably about this stint
yeah,
around
yeah,
here, where you
yeah.
got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8
8 and
wins out of
9.
9. That is an
Mm,
incredible run.
yeah, yeah, it is. And the thing that was different in there as well is New York have been. I mean, it's a known MLS thing that a lot of clubs don't travel well because of the long distances.
Yeah.
But I think New York have always been especially poor, and in particular in the last 2-3 years with any players that have been loitering around since and even during the MLS Cup run.
Yeah.
You know, all those games we played pretty much during MLS Cup playoffs were away,
Yeah.
and we scraped through a lot of them. Let's be honest. So to have won it was a miracle, and definitely I think every game we played we were the underdog in them.
Yeah.
But within that run of games there were some away wins which just somewhat unheard of by recent NYCFC standards.
Yeah.
And I think you could see a real change in the culture. You could see the players and Nick were a lot tighter, and I think that was what was missing. Last season there was quite a lot of drama off field by the sounds of it. There was public fallouts on Twitter. Players that had left, like Chanot, who came out and said, sort of negative things about Nick Cushing, and but the fact we then turned it around afterwards, it was like, okay, well, some sort of Taylor Swift lyric there, like, "All right, it's him, he's the drama" or something.
Yeah.
It did feel like maybe Nick wasn't the problem. Having spoken to him, I know it's very different when you as a fan are talking to your coach, but still, he is such a genuine, honest guy, and a really good guy at that, it seems. And he's so ingrained in the project, like 100% ingrained. He brought his family over there the moment he became an assistant. So I think that's a commitment, because you could, don't be wrong, I'm sure most fathers will miss their children if they're the other side of the world. But many people in football have done it, where they'll maybe leave their family in the UK.
Yeah.
There's plenty of gaps in the MLS calendar. He can visit, he can go home, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the moment he moved over, the family went with him. So I think that showed the commitment to the cause, that he was fully on board. He's fully ingrained in the city, or the CFG, the City Football Group. I wouldn't be shocked if there's underlying dreams of maybe he could replace Pep one day if he'd been this amazing performer at NYCFC. I don't think that will ever happen, but I wouldn't have been shocked if that was part of the thinking from CFG, that was the long-term goal. I think that's probably why Dome Torrent came over, because he was one of Pep's former assistants when he took over at NYCFC. I wouldn't have been shocked if that was a thing as well.
Yeah.
You go show us what you can do at the first team, and maybe we'll look to he could have then gone to a Girona in Spain, or whatever the other clubs are they've got. Would have been a natural progression. So it's not really worked for any of them yet. And then the ones that have gone on, like Patrick Vieira has gone on to manage other clubs, and not done tremendously.
Yes.
Decent spell at Palace, I thought, and he was sacked somewhat unfairly. But none of them have stayed within the CFG. So it's what it is.
It is what it is. So let's just look back at your current form over the season. You had a bit of a tricky start there, but then you did have 2 away games to start off the season, which is not ideal.
We always start away because the baseball stadiums cannot be used in March.
But you are moving away from the baseball stadium.
Another 3 years yet, but
But that you're gonna have a home game in March in the next few years. But
2027, that'll be the time.
But then this little period here, from Toronto up to Charlotte, was a pretty good stint. Only 1 defeat, and then again you carried that form all the way through. But then you did have 3 losses on the bounce. But again, 2 away games, so you can kind of understand that a little bit more. And then 2 wins in the space of 8 games, and no wins in the last 6. What's been the cause of that? And I know you've got only 2 defeats there, but there's still that no winning feeling for
Yeah.
quite some time now. So what's changed? Has there been any big differences, or is it just bad luck?
It's really tough to say, but it's some of the things from previous seem to have crept back in. We seem to be giving away goals really late, even against Columbus, which feels like forever ago now, on September 1st. 2-2 in the 90th minute, and we lose 4-2. How? I think if I remember rightly, we scored in the 86th minute.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, oh, we've just stolen a point.
Yeah.
And that's a much better feeling than we've just lost 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then we go and let them score in the 93rd and the 100th minute. Sorry. And that is the story of a lot of our games recently. The amount of games where we've been in the lead and we've given up leads late it is a concern that it's like we switch off. It's like we just can't park the bus, to use an old-fashioned British.
Yeah.
There's just something not quite there that we were doing in those games in that run earlier in the season. There wasn't a huge number there of big comfortable wins. They were maybe better performances, but certainly we weren't winning 3-4, 5-0. But we were holding out, and that was the difference. I wish I could remember. There was one game I'm sure we were 2-0 up and then conceded, and then it was like, oh, it's going to be really tough. By from Red Bulls. No, I can't remember which game it was. Doesn't matter. But the worry was always there. Like, oh God, are we going to do it again? And we don't. But it does feel like that. It's been it's particularly behind a lot of those draws in there that we're just giving away points late in the game, and it's painful.
Yeah.
I am very much Cushing. I think the guy has so much potential. I do sometimes wonder, and I don't just say this about him, I'm saying this about all English coaches, is I do sometimes wonder if language barrier is a problem when there are so many Hispanic heritage players. Probably only speak Spanish, Portuguese. I'm sure there'll be some bilinguals out there as well. And I know within the NYCFC coaching team, you've got bilingual coaches, but I think sometimes it has to come from the boss.
Yeah.
Only recently heard, I think it was Jamie Carragher telling stories about Rafa Benitez when he joined Liverpool and them struggling to understand, and him being almost a laughing stock in the changing room. And you can see how it can work both ways. That, some players, if they get what he's saying and they get the ethics and the structure and the format he's trying to input, will think brilliant. And I just sometimes wonder if an English coach isn't necessarily getting all their thoughts and ideas behind. But the difference is Cushing is a coach; he's not a manager. So he is very much on the training field. He is out there doing the training sessions. Been fortunate enough to go to the training facility once, and it was Nick out there putting the mannequins out on the pitch and setting up coaching sessions.
Yeah.
And that was really good to see, because that was during a really tough period as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've got the confidence we can turn it around, and hopefully you guys can be the whipping boys for that.
No, because our form at the moment it's the best form we've had in such a long time. We're currently on 4 wins out the last 5 league games, and if you take the League's Cup into account as well, it's been 6 wins out of 8. It's just been an incredible turnaround after we went. How many games was it? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 league games without a win, and just suddenly something's just went like that. And I think it's the fact that we were playing with a 3-back formation, and we've gone back to 4. Unfortunately, it's off quite 4-4-2. As much as I would love that, it would have been great. But 4-2-3-1, and obviously we've got the leading goal scorer in our team, in Christian Benteke, scoring 18 goals already this season. So he's going to be pivotal in our last 6 games, because we've got yourselves next, and then we've got Philadelphia, which is a game that you're going to as well, if I remember rightly. Hopefully.
It's still not booked. I'll I'll be honest. So I mean, to be fair, my last few trips I've been to have all been very last minute. I will base it around a number of things, but I'll be totally Messi fanboy and honest. That I am pretty much fundamentally basing this trip around that I've never seen Messi live.
Yeah.
And New York play Inter Messi on the 21st at Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
Yeah, everything is kind of penciled in as I could do, but I'm going to wait and see whether he's in the squad this weekend, because they're playing Philly.
Yes.
This weekend coming. So if he's in the squad, or even, we'll hear more news updates, because even if he's not in the squad, their coach is bound to be asked, what's the update on Messi?
Of course. Yeah.
It's pretty like they've got Atlanta midweek, and he's never going to play in Atlanta because of the 4G or the plastic pitch, whatever the Americans call it. Turf.
Turf, but turf's grass.
Turf's grass.
Yes. Yeah. I've had this conversation many times. The fake grass is AstroTurf, right? It's Astro, but they call it turf.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, that's gonna potentially 5 games in 6 days is my plan.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna wait until the end of the weekend to decide, and then book my flights. As long as they haven't dramatically increased in price at the weekend.
Yes. And I know that particular game is at a reasonable kickoff time for us in the UK.
Yeah. NYC Miami you're referring to?
I know. I'm on about Philadelphia. DC.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Of course I am. Why would I even care about that one? That one is 11:15 p.m. UK time. I don't understand why it's 11:15.
Maybe they're just being honest about the whole skewed kickoff times for once. I don't know.
I mean,
it will still kick off at 11:24 though. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just it frustrates me. But you guys, you're currently 5th in the East, 39 points from 27. So considering you run, you're still sitting very pretty in the table. But it's probably going to be a bit of a struggle to get a home playoff match.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see you slipping all the way back down to 8th or anything like that. I think
the thing is we've still got to play Red Bulls.
Yeah, which is going to be a huge game.
Philly. So there's plenty of games where we can get points.
Yeah.
I would take I'm sure we'll come to predictions and all that, but I would take a point against you guys away. I would hope that we win against Philly. And I think a statement win away at the Red Bulls would be huge. I think that would guarantee us 4th.
Yeah.
And then I think at least one home game then. So it's at least we're there. There's a chance of us getting home games. And I think I want to say we finished 4th when we won MLS Cup. So we're gonna win it all.
That's it. That's it. It doesn't matter how the rest of it. You're just gonna win it all.
Just checked it. We did. We finished 4th in 2021. So there we go. We're gonna finish 4th and win MLS Cup.
Yeah. You're gonna stick with those almonds, are you? No.
Don't believe that for 1 second.
Oh dear. Right.
We'd need Tati Castellanos back for that. So anyway, carry on.
You've got a new badge.
It's a new badge. It's like a cartoon version of this beautiful badge.
They've literally taken the actual pointy bits of NYC, squished it, made it slightly cornery.
It looks so. The description I gave it was when you say Bing AI, go and create me this image, and it creates some like fake imagery. It literally looks like that. When I've said, "Oh, create me a mock NYCFC kit," and it puts like a copy, so it's copyright infringed or not copyright infringed. The badge that Bing AI used to create was almost this badge. It's very animated. It doesn't feel clean and professional, and something about this feels older than the club is.
Yes.
But in a good way. It doesn't feel. You don't look at it and go, like say if you look at some English football clubs badges that haven't been updated for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
That are often based on city crests, things like that. It's a good heritage And we won MLS Cup only 3 years ago with this badge. It doesn't, and we've only existed, whatever it is, 15, 16 years. No, 19 years. 19 years? Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It just still doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But
I'm just going to bring it up on screen for those who haven't
Yeah.
seen it. So this is the current badge. And then that's the new one. So there's not a huge amount of differences, but you can, yeah, this bit's got chunkier.
it's not as clean. But it's
No,
just,
I
yeah.
liked. I know it's subtle,
So
but
the
this
font,
white
the font
logo,
bit, yeah.
white circle, that's gone, and I like that because it kind of separates the bits out.
Mm-hmm.
And
I actually think, yeah, the Y and where it meets the N is too busy.
yeah,
It's too tight.
Yeah.
The font, I get them making the New York City Football Club. I get them making that bigger because it stands out more.
No, I don't like that. For me, I prefer it like that.
Mm.
There's a
I didn't say I like it. I just say I get it. But
yeah, I think the font is too bold. I think if it was more regular rather than being bold, I think that would look a lot better. But what do I know about logo design?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think there's sadly a lot of negativity online around it. And if I'm honest, I try to be as positive as I can. I don't like to be one of these negative moaners online, but sadly I do agree. I think it's pretty shocking, in honesty.
Yeah. And was it something that people were aware of that was going to happen, or has this just literally come out of the blue?
Not that I'm aware of. There had been talk of brand refreshes because we've always referred to ourselves as NYCFC.
Yeah.
And as of this season, we're not. We're New York City FC. The Twitter account changed. The Twitter account was NYCFC,
really?
And now it's New York City FC.
Right.
And the reason behind that is we are now the FC of New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
the
amount of times I've tried
this, haven't they?
Yeah, probably. When they did the brand refresh of that, there was some cool graphic stuff that you're thinking, actually, no, that's some really good stuff, really good artistry that they've created for templates and all sorts. But the name thing, I was like, okay, sort of get it, but equally, the millions of posts that would have been tagged as at NYCFC, now completely lost.
Yeah.
When someone goes to click that, doesn't link in.
Yeah.
That baffled me. And then the badge just seems to finish that kind of confusion off. Like, well, nothing was broken.
Yeah.
There's many badges in MLS that I think they're not great.
Columbus Crew.
Yeah, because they kind of broke it. I think they finally did get, at least the one they've got now was the best of all the rehashes. But Chicago, they messed with theirs too much.
Jeez. Oh, they went Motorola logo style. That's what it reminded me of. It was just a Motorola logo. And yet they were actually sponsored by Motorola at one point as well, which just tickled me.
Seems to be someone maybe worked and transferred or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's other teams' badges who I just don't like. And other teams have really struggled with their identities, like kits especially have looked awful. Like Seattle, I think, I know they're not an OG MLS club, but I think of them as like they're one of those teams I think a lot of people have heard
longer.
of.
Yeah.
They have existed a lot longer as well.
Yes.
They've existed for longer than MLS. But their kits and badge has been, I'd argue, awful for some time.
Yeah. Montreal is another one.
Yeah. Although actually, I'll be honest, I don't get the name change of losing the impact thing, but I actually do really like the new badge for them. I think the badge is a lot better, but I don't think the name change was necessary.
Yeah, with the new badge, they put back a bit of the impact in there, didn't they? With a new badge, but they didn't need to change the name. They really did not need to change that.
The whole club thing, or whatever it's called, they're just playing on the French, and I get it. Of course, it's in the French province, so fully understood.
Yeah.
Kind of some logic behind it, but you didn't need to do it to that level personally. No. But I've never seen any Montreal fans exist, let alone online. So it's hard to know what they think.
Yeah.
But my Twitter is English speaking, so that's probably why. It's probably most of them. I can only assume more French Canadian. I making a complete sweeping assumption. No idea.
No idea at all. But say how. So yeah, you've got that new logo, which is going to see you into the new stadium when that eventually arrives, which is going to be next door to Mets.
Yes. Yeah. Literally across the street from Citi Field.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be in Queens, the World's Borough, as it's known. I think it's good. It's a good place. I've been to one game at Citi Field, and you don't feel like you're in New York as much because it is quite a long subway ride out to Citi Field.
Yeah.
At least when you're going up to Yankee Stadium, very similar to anyone that's been on the Underground in London. You'll be in the middle of London and you're literally underground.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the Underground arises and it becomes an overground, or whatever Americans call it. And Manhattan, it's the same. You're underground a lot of the time, and eventually you come out and you're above ground in the Bronx.
Yeah.
But you're not. It's not that far in. You're really how many blocks it is? 20 blocks up. And you're there. Whereas the subway ride out to Queens feels long. So I think that's about the only thing that is the kind of. I think they probably would have preferred to be in the Bronx, or at least there was a few sites that were considered right at the top of Manhattan. Even where NYCFC2 are now going to start playing at the new renovated ICANN Stadium, which is on literally the name of the island. It's a tiny island just next to Manhattan at the top. I want to say Randall's Island. It's a fairly famous athletic track, basically, and it's had a new pitch laid down to be football proofed. And other sports, apparently rugby's going to be played there, so I'm assuming that Rugby New York, or what they're called in the Rugby MLS.
Yeah, Major League Rugby play.
That's it.
Yeah. I keep a small eye on what happens.
I kept an eye on it for a season. And I don't follow rugby enough anyway. Different sport, so moving on. So there was a lot of talk about even that being an option, that maybe they took over the whole site and made it the stadium there, because then it would be very much in their control. But I think the land is owned by City Parks, so they look after all of the parks across New York City, big famous ones and all the small ones too. So I just don't think that was part of or an option. There's been all sorts of red tape to get through. New York City is one of the toughest places in the world to build anything. You probably have to get red tape to put 2 Lego bricks together in Manhattan. So getting where they've got to is an achievement, and I give credit to the club because the plans look fantastic.
Yeah, it does look pretty decent, I have to admit. And to be fair, most MLS stadiums that have been built over the last sort of 5-10 years have looked pretty good.
There is a slight similarity between them. You've got sort of Columbus's, Austin's, Nashville's, Cincy's. They've all got nuances and different colorings, of course, but there is quite a lot similar. And I sadly think NYCFC have fallen into that sort of I don't know, template almost.
You could say that about stadiums over here, because at one point you had the Riverside, which was at the time was the first in that style. Then you had Pride Park, you had St. Mary's. I knew you were going to do that. And then there was a couple of other stadiums that had that same.
There were smaller ones
style.
as well that were copied, like Doncaster, Darlington.
I actually drove past that the other day. I went back home to see my parents, and we ended up driving past it, and it's just like, why did George Reynolds go ahead and build that 25,000 seater stadium for a team? At the time, we're in what is now known as League Two. Would have been Division 3 back in the day.
Yeah. So mad that they did that.
Yeah, but now it's hosted by a championship rugby team, Mowden Park. I don't even read the championship now, but Yeah. Anyhow, but yeah, there was a lot of stadiums. And I think that's where I was going, was that there's different eras to stadium building, and I imagine they get the same architects in to
Yeah,
design
possibly,
these stadiums, and
possibly.
that's why they look so similar.
There was a famous architect brought in for the stadium stuff, and I'm going to say it, and I think I might be wrong anyway, but I want to say it was the same architect that did the Emirates.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the Emirates, it was another ground that is equally nice. Yes, the Emirates is in dire need of some renovation, but as if it had been looked after better in its earlier years,
Yeah.
it would be a fantastic stadium. And now that the fans are getting back behind the team, it does produce some noise. But I think hopefully what they do try to create is authentic. There are some authentic features. There's an amazingly huge kind of lit up box. I think they called it the cube or the box or something. It's going to be kind of like the entrance to the main supporters sort of stand.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some cool things, and yeah, hopefully it's done right. But
Yes.
I don't think the first spade's even in the ground yet. So shovel, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember. There's a phrase that they use for it, and I can't remember what it is. Oh, that's going to annoy me.
They got like breaking ground or something, don't they?
Yeah, something like that. I really wish, because I remember reading all about it when they did that with Audi Field back in the day when that was being built. Yeah, can't remember it. Nope, that's going to annoy me, and I'll remember it as soon as we finish recording. It'll just come to me like, that's what it was. But yeah, so we talked about where you think you're gonna, if you finish fourth, you're gonna win MLS Cup. But let's bring it home a little bit more short term. Obviously, we've got the game this weekend. You're on the road at Audi Field with a team that's currently in great form at the moment. Not to pick us up a little bit or anything, but 12 out of a possible 15 points. How's it going to go down?
It is really tough to predict. Our head-to-heads don't even give really any inkling. I mean, the last two games have been...
It's 50-50.
Yeah, literally. I think it has been very home-friendly, hasn't it? I think bar the last... You won it.
Yeah, I think
you won against us in 2022.
But then you beat
and we
us
won it you also in 2022.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really tough to predict. We've not been great away from home. I would take a point.
Yeah.
But I think we need more than a point. I think we need to take advantage and remember the fact that you are lower than us in the table and throw form out the window. If we can do that, we could sneak a win. It won't be comfortable. I would imagine it'd be something like a 2-1 in my CFC.
Yeah.
So the heart wants 2-1. I think the heart, or the head, says it will be a draw, something like a 1-1. Where we'll be in the lead for 80 minutes and you're scoring the 97th minute.
Well, let's put it this way. So I'm just looking at it a little bit detail on it. Your road record, 14 games you've played on the road so far this season in MLS. 3 wins, 4 draws, 7 defeats, scored 13 and conceded 20. So your average goals scored a game is 0.93, conceded is 1.43. And your average time to score the first goal when you're away from them has been the 33rd minute. But the average time you concede is the 32nd minute. So I reckon something's going to happen at around the 30-minute mark, because our time to score at home is around the 35 minutes. So it's going to be the last third of the first half is where we're going to get the action.
Well, I mean, in our last 2 away games, which were both in Columbus, one was Leagues Cup, one was the league.
Yeah,
we scored in the 1st minute and the 4th minute. So
okay,
we
kind of throws it out
recent,
a little bit.
Yeah, we have recent form of scoring really early. The goal in the Leagues Cup was, I think, a club record first goal. Crazy early. So who knows?
Yeah.
This is why it is very unpredictable, because our form doesn't seem to follow form.
Yeah.
It's been so up and down that it's really hard to see and know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it also looks like there is a lot of action towards the end of the game because 13 of your goals so far have been scored in the last 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that does feel right. I would think the conceded goals would also be quite late as well, though.
Yeah, so
Again, like I was saying earlier,
we're probably looking
two
at the last the last third of both halves is where the action is going to be.
sort of focus is waning, whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
And yeah, something's going wrong there.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So you take a point. I genuinely think we're going to continue our form at the moment because it's been so good recently. I think we're probably looking for us a 2-1 win. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet because we've only kept 2 all season. So, there's going to be goals. That's what I'm going to guarantee this weekend. There's going to be goals.
So both of our hearts say 2-1
Yeah.
to our clubs. So,
yes. Yeah.
So it's going to be 0-0.
Yeah. I said there's going to be. I've guaranteed goals. Now there's going to be none.
It's going to get MLS UK show boo.
Yeah. No, we don't want that. Can't have that.
That's not why we joined MLS UK.
No.
To see 0-0s. We joined MLS because we want action and
we want
drama
action.
and
we're too bored of 0-0 draws in the English game. That's why we want proper action. We stay up late till 3 o'clock in the morning watching these games, and we need action to keep us awake.
Yeah,
that's what it is, and that's what we want. So that wraps things up quite nicely for us. Thank you for taking the time out on the Wednesday evening to come and chat to me and talking about all MLS and specifically this game this weekend. So yeah, thank you for coming on. And for the folks who do want to have, maybe if you're going to be around this weekend, a bit of banter with you online, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, X, and Instagram.
No, you can call it Twitter, it's fine.
At UKNYCFC. I haven't changed my Twitter handle like the club. I am still UKNYCFC, not UK New York City FC. Yeah, I will endeavour to be online this weekend and watching early hours of Sunday morning for us. Yes. So yeah, by all means, come and give me some stick, because if you give me some stick and then we end up winning, I'm right back at you.
It's all about the banter. It's all about
the
banter.
All for it. All for it.
Well, thank you very much, Barney, for coming on.
Pleasure.
And we'll head back to the podcast. And there we are. We are back to the podcast. So, yeah, great chat with Barney yesterday, or if you're listening to this to way after the fact on the normal day of being released. We recorded it the day before actually doing the proper show. Yeah, really good time. And yeah, that is the end of today's episode, this week's episode. So thank you to everyone who has tuned in, whether you've watched this live, whether you've watched this after the fact, or whether you're listening to it. So once again, please do subscribe to the podcast. If it's on YouTube, great. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, please do subscribe. If you are listening to it on Apple and on Spotify, please do leave a rating and a review. It helps the show out massively, so please do that. And if you wanted to help out otherwise, if you want to get something like this fantastic Adidas D.C U.K hoodie, it does have D.C U.K on the sleeve as well, then please do head over to dcunitedkingdom.com/DC UK store. You'll see a range of different merchandise on there. Please do go ahead and give yourself a nice little cheeky purchase. Coming up to the Christmas season, whether you're going to give yourself a Christmas present to someone else. Yes, I know I'm talking about that already, and we're not even Halloween yet, so it's got to be done. Yeah, once again, thank you to everyone who's listened and watched, and nothing left to say, but until next time, Vamos United.